Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Mystery Channel. Tonight, we'll be exploring the hidden world of top-secret documents and uncovering the strange stories within them. For decades, classified files have contained things the public was never meant to know. Some eventually revealed secret operations that sounded too unbelievable to be true, while others only led to more questions, because the important details had been mysteriously removed. That is what makes these documents so fascinating. They show us how much can remain hidden while the world carries on completely unaware of what's going on. Tonight, we will explore these extraordinary files and uncover stories from our past that are stranger than you can imagine. We'll also look at the files that remain incomplete and ask what was so dangerous that it had to be covered up. If you enjoy these curious journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your shoulders relax and notice your eyes grow heavy. And as the day begins to gently fade away, join me as we explore these top-secret files together. Let's begin. The CIA spent years figuring out if psychic spying was actually useful. During the Cold War, the CIA became fascinated by the idea that psychic powers could be used for spying. The idea sounded extraordinary, but the possibility that rival nations were studying similar abilities made it difficult to ignore. Researchers began testing what became known as remote viewing. Participants were sometimes given coordinates or coded targets and asked to describe whatever impressions entered their minds. Some sessions produced statements that supporters considered surprisingly accurate. Others were vague or completely wrong. Intelligence officers occasionally used viewers against real targets, which made the program far more than a laboratory curiosity. The central mystery is why the research survived for so long if it produced nothing useful. Skeptics argue that coincidence and flexible interpretation explain the strongest results. Supporters believe a small number of sessions remain genuinely difficult to dismiss. Whatever the truth, official files confirm that psychic spying was once treated as a serious national security question. Thousands of MK-Ultra records were destroyed before investigators could examine them. The most unsettling part of MK-Ultra may be how much of its story disappeared before the public knew the program existed. In the early 1970s, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered many records connected to the project destroyed. Years later, congressional investigations tried to reconstruct what had happened. They discovered that large sections of the paper trail were already gone. Surviving documents revealed experiments involving drugs, behavioral research, hypnosis, and attempts to understand how human thinking might be influenced. Yet those records represented only part of the original program. Additional financial files were later found by accident, which exposed projects investigators had previously missed. That discovery raised an obvious question. If one overlooked set of records could reveal so much, what vanished with the files that were deliberately destroyed? Some people believe the missing material contained the most controversial experiments. Others think the destruction reflected ordinary secrecy surrounding sensitive intelligence research. Either way, the incomplete archive ensures that MK-Ultra can never be fully reconstructed. Area 51 remained officially hidden while secret aircraft flew overhead. For decades, the Nevada desert contained a military location that almost seemed to exist outside normal geography. Pilots were testing aircraft unlike anything civilians had seen before, yet the government barely acknowledged the base itself. That secrecy helped create one of the most enduring mysteries in modern history. People living near the region reported strange lights moving at extraordinary speeds. Some sightings probably involved experimental aircraft such as the U-2 or later reconnaissance projects. But secrecy created a second possibility in the public imagination. If advanced machines could be hidden there for years, what else might be stored beyond the guarded perimeter? Former workers have made competing claims about unusual technology and restricted hangars. None of the most dramatic stories has been conclusively proven. Even so, Area 51 became a perfect example of how genuine secrecy can create a space where known history and extraordinary speculation become almost impossible to separate. Project Azorian secretly attempted to lift a Soviet submarine from the ocean. One of the most ambitious intelligence operations ever attempted began with a sunken Soviet submarine resting thousands of feet beneath the Pacific. American officials wanted the vessel because it might contain code books, nuclear weapons, and valuable technology. Recovering it openly was impossible, so the CIA helped create an extraordinary cover story. Billionaire Howard Hughes appeared to be developing a ship for mining valuable minerals from the ocean floor. In reality, the vessel concealed equipment designed to raise part of the submarine in complete secrecy. The engineering challenge was immense. Everything had to work in deep water, while Soviet observers remained unaware of the true mission. During the recovery attempt, part of the submarine reportedly broke away and fell back toward the seabed. Exactly what the Americans recovered remains debated because significant details stayed classified. That uncertainty has fueled decades of speculation about whether more intelligence was obtained than officials later admitted. The operations sound fictional, yet much of it is documented history. Operation Northwoods proposed extraordinary deceptions that remained classified for decades. In the early 1960s, senior American military planners produced proposals for creating public support for action against Cuba. The document suggested staged incidents that could be blamed on the Cuban government. The ideas were never carried out, but their existence became public years later through declassified records. That distinction matters because Operation Northwoods is often discussed as though it became an active operation. It did not. What makes the file remarkable is that such extreme concepts were formally written down and circulated within official planning channels. For people suspicious of government secrecy, the document became powerful evidence that plans once dismissed as unthinkable could genuinely appear inside classified files. For historians, it offers a revealing glimpse into the intense atmosphere of the Cold War. The unanswered question is how many similarly dramatic proposals were discussed but never preserved or released. Northwoods does not prove every conspiracy theory. It does show that secret planning can sometimes travel much farther than the public would ever expect. The Nona files revealed Soviet spy messages that America had secretly decoded. For years, a highly secret American project quietly examined encrypted Soviet communications sent during the 1940s. Analysts discovered that mistakes in the way some encryption materials had been used created a rare opportunity. With enough patience, portions of supposedly secure messages could be reconstructed. The results were astonishing. The decoded traffic pointed toward Soviet intelligence networks operating inside the United States and other countries. Some messages appeared to confirm suspicions surrounding individuals already under investigation. Others introduced mysterious code names whose identities remained uncertain. The project was so sensitive, but its existence stayed hidden long after many of the events it described had passed into history. This created an unusual situation. Public arguments about espionage continued while the government possessed secret evidence that could not be openly discussed. When Venona material was finally released, it reshaped understanding of several Cold War controversies. Yet some identities behind the codenames remained disputed. The files solved major questions while quietly creating new ones. The mysterious Majestic 12 papers describe an alleged secret UFO committee. In the 1980s, documents surfaced claiming that an ultra-secret group called Majestic 12 had been created to manage information about crashed extraterrestrial craft. The papers appeared to describe a committee containing senior military leaders, scientists, and intelligence officials. If genuine, they would have transformed the history of the UFO subject overnight. Researchers quickly began examining the typography, signatures, terminology, and administrative details. Many investigators concluded that the documents were forged. Others argued that certain features were difficult to explain and deserved further study. The controversy became even stranger because intelligence agencies had genuine reasons to manipulate information during the Cold War. That opened several possibilities. The papers could be a hoax created by private individuals. They could contain fragments of authentic material mixed with false information. Some believers still wonder whether they were deliberately released to confuse anyone getting too close to a real secret. No definitive evidence has established Majestic 12 as an actual organization, but the documents remain one of ufology's most famous unresolved disputes. Roswell records connected the famous crash story to a deeply classified project. When unusual debris was discovered near Roswell in 1947, the event quickly became tangled in changing explanations. A military announcement initially referred to a recovered flying disc. Then officials said the material came from a weather balloon. Decades later, a different explanation emerged through declassified information. The debris was linked to Project Mogul, a secret effort that used high-altitude balloon systems to detect signs of Soviet nuclear tests. Because Mogul itself was classified, officials at the time could not simply describe the project to the public. That secrecy helped create a gap where alternative explanations could flourish. Witnesses later offered accounts involving unusual materials and strange recovery procedures. Some went much further and described non-human bodies. Those claims remain heavily disputed. The enduring mystery is not simply what fell near Roswell. It is how a real classified program became intertwined with one of the world's most famous extraterrestrial stories, creating a debate that continues generations later. Some government files remain partly censored decades after their secrets became historical. A declassified document does not always mean a fully revealed document. Researchers often open old intelligence files only to find names removed, paragraphs blacked out, or entire pages withheld. Sometimes the reason is straightforward. A source may still need protection, or a method could remain useful. In other cases, the secrecy can seem surprising because the events occurred many decades earlier. This creates an irresistible question. What information could still matter after so much time has passed? Some redactions protect relationships with foreign governments. Others may conceal technical capabilities that remain sensitive in updated forms. There can also be legal reasons involving personal privacy. But unexplained gaps naturally invite more speculative possibilities. A heavily censored page can make an ordinary historical episode appear far more mysterious than it might actually be. At the same time, history shows that seemingly minor redactions can sometimes hide important names or operations. The black ink itself becomes part of the mystery because readers know something remains deliberately unseen. Entire intelligence operations became public only because forgotten documents were eventually released. Secret history does not always emerge through dramatic leaks. Sometimes it appears because a file survives in the wrong box, escapes an earlier destruction order, or reaches an archive nobody expected to contain it. Historians have repeatedly discovered references to sensitive operations inside administrative records that seemed unimportant. A payment record can expose a hidden project. A routine memo can mention a codename that leads investigators toward an unknown program. This creates one of the strangest features of intelligence history. Governments may successfully hide an operation for years, only for its existence to surface through paperwork created for completely ordinary reasons. These discoveries also raise a larger possibility. Archives are enormous, and much of their material remains poorly explored. There may be forgotten references to operations that have never attracted serious attention. Some could be mundane. Others might change how familiar events are understood. The most surprising secret file may not be locked away. It may already be public and simply waiting for someone to notice it. Project Blue Book closed, while hundreds of UFO cases remained officially unexplained. For nearly 2 decades, the United States Air Force collected and evaluated reports of unidentified flying objects through programs that eventually became Project Blue Book. Investigators examined thousands of sightings from civilians, pilots, military personnel, and radar operators. Most were eventually attributed to ordinary causes. A smaller group resisted easy explanation because the evidence was incomplete or genuinely puzzling. When Blue Book ended in 1969, officials concluded that unidentified sightings did not represent a national security threat and offered no evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. Yet hundreds of cases remained listed as unidentified. That detail became central to later UFO debates. Skeptics point out that unexplained does not mean alien. Supporters argue that some of the strongest reports deserved deeper investigation. Internal disagreements among consultants added another layer of intrigue, because not everyone involved viewed the evidence the same way. The program officially closed, but the unresolved files ensured that the subject itself never really went away. CIA files show intelligence officers seriously investigated reports of unusual human abilities. The intelligence world has occasionally explored claims that would seem more at home in paranormal literature than government offices. Declassified material shows officials examining reports involving telepathy, unusual perception, and other alleged mental abilities. Their interest did not necessarily mean they believed every claim. Intelligence agencies often investigate unlikely possibilities because even a small chance of success can matter when a rival nation might be doing the same thing. Some researchers argued that controlled experiments produced results above chance. Others found the evidence inconsistent and difficult to repeat. The fascinating part is how seriously certain reports were treated behind closed doors. Meetings were held. Tests were funded. Results were circulated among officials with security clearances. This suggests that the boundary between conventional intelligence and fringe research was sometimes much more flexible than the public realized. Perhaps officials were chasing dead ends. Perhaps they feared being surprised by an unexpected discovery. Either way, paranormal claims entered classified channels and remained there long enough to leave a genuine documentary trail. The Stargate program asked remote viewers to describe places they could not see. Participants in the Stargate program were sometimes given little more than a target reference and asked to describe a location hidden from them. They might sketch shapes, mention temperatures, describe buildings, or report impressions of activity. Evaluators then compared those statements with the real target. Some sessions appeared striking enough to keep officials interested. One viewer might describe a large structure or unusual terrain that seemed to resemble the assigned location. But interpretation was difficult because broad impressions could sometimes fit many possible targets. Critics also worried that evaluators might focus on matches while overlooking mistakes. Supporters believed certain sessions contained specific details that chance could not comfortably explain. The program eventually ended after reviews questioned its usefulness for dependable intelligence. Yet the surviving records remain fascinating because they preserve serious attempts to turn an extraordinary human claim into an operational tool. The unresolved question is whether the best results reflected coincidence, subtle information leakage, psychological pattern matching, or something science still does not fully understand. Secret Cold War files reveal plans for missions that were never attempted. Classified archives are filled not only with operations that happened, but also with ideas that never moved beyond the planning stage. During the Cold War, military and intelligence officials explored scenarios involving reconnaissance, sabotage, deception, emergency responses, and unconventional technology. Some proposals were rejected because they were too risky. Others became unnecessary as politics changed or better methods appeared. These abandoned plans offer a strange glimpse into alternate versions of history that almost happened. A single approval could have changed an international crisis or created consequences nobody could predict. Because planners were working under intense uncertainty, they often considered possibilities that sound startling today. The existence of a proposal does not mean leaders intended to carry it out. Still, classified planning papers reveal how far institutions sometimes explore an idea before saying no. For mystery-minded readers, the larger question is irresistible. If rejected plans this extraordinary became public, what proposals remained classified because they involved capabilities or strategies governments still prefer not to discuss? British UFO records contain sightings reported by military personnel and civilian witnesses. Britain accumulated thousands of reports about strange objects in the sky, and many eventually entered government files. Some came from ordinary members of the public. Others involved police officers, pilots, military personnel, or people working near sensitive locations. The Ministry of Defense investigated reports mainly to determine whether anything posed a threat or revealed hostile technology. Many cases had straightforward explanations involving aircraft, planets, balloons, or unusual weather. A smaller number remained difficult to resolve from the available evidence. One reason these files attract so much attention is their tone. Extraordinary claims are often recorded in calm, bureaucratic language, which can make them feel even more curious. Officials noted times, directions, witness statements, and possible explanations. They did not need to believe in extraterrestrial visitors to take an unfamiliar object seriously. The result is a large archive showing how governments actually respond when citizens report something they cannot identify. Most cases fade away. A few remain stubbornly open to interpretation. Declassified documents reveal how governments sometimes investigated their own unexplained sightings. An unidentified object becomes more complicated when the witness is part of the same institution responsible for investigating it. Military pilots and radar operators occasionally reported observations that could not immediately be matched with known aircraft or natural phenomena. In such cases, officials had to consider several possibilities without knowing which one was correct. The object might be an enemy platform. It could be an experimental friendly system that the witness was not cleared to know about. It might also be a misidentification caused by unusual conditions. This creates a fascinating secrecy problem. Investigators themselves may not always have access to every classified project operating in the area. A report could therefore remain unexplained even inside government channels, because information was deliberately compartmentalized. That possibility does not explain every strange sighting, but it changes how official uncertainty should be understood. Sometimes a government record saying unidentified may genuinely mean the people writing the report were not allowed to know the answer. The NSA kept the existence of the Nona hidden long after operations ended. The Nona was not revealed to the public when its most important wartime work finished. Instead, knowledge of the project remained tightly controlled for decades. The reason was partly historical and partly practical. Officials did not want to expose how Soviet communications had been exploited. They also needed to protect intelligence relationships and avoid revealing what Western agencies had learned about espionage networks. This secrecy created awkward consequences. Some criminal cases and political controversies unfolded, while classified intercepts remained unavailable to the public. Government officials sometimes knew more than they could safely explain. By the time the material was released in the 1990s, many people connected to the original events had died. Historians suddenly gained access to evidence that had been absent from major debates for half a century. The episode demonstrates how secrecy can shape public understanding long after an operation ends. It also raises a broader question. How many accepted historical narratives remain incomplete because decisive records are still locked behind classifications nobody outside government can see? CIA codenames often concealed projects whose real purposes sounded completely unrelated. Intelligence agencies rarely label sensitive operations with names that reveal what they actually do. A code name might sound ordinary, abstract, or completely disconnected from the mission. This is intentional. If a document is overheard or accidentally seen, the title should reveal as little as possible. Over time, these names create puzzles for historians because a single unfamiliar phrase can point toward an entire hidden operation. Researchers may spend years tracing scattered references before understanding what a code name meant. Sometimes multiple names are used for different parts of the same project. In other cases, one operation changes names as security concerns evolve. This can produce confusion even after files are declassified. The system also creates opportunities for mistaken connections when similar names belong to unrelated programs. Yet there is something fascinating about the contrast between bland terminology and extraordinary activity. Behind an unremarkable label might sit a spy aircraft, a covert recovery mission, or an intelligence experiment that once carried enormous strategic importance. Some released files contain entire pages where almost every word remains blacked out. Few things make a secret document more intriguing than opening it and discovering almost nothing can be read. Agencies sometimes release records while withholding nearly all meaningful content under exemptions protecting national security, intelligence methods, foreign information, or personal identities. What remains may be little more than a date, a heading, and a few harmless words. To researchers, these pages can be maddening because they prove a record exists without revealing what it says. Occasionally, later releases remove some of the censorship and show that the hidden material was fairly routine. At other times, newly revealed lines expose names or operational details that genuinely change the historical picture. This creates a strange form of suspense that can last for decades. Every future review carries the possibility that another section will become visible. The page itself becomes a timeline of secrecy because different generations of officials may decide different parts are safe to reveal. Until then, the missing words invite endless interpretation. Intelligence archives preserve reports officials collected without necessarily believing their contents. One of the easiest mistakes when reading a declassified file is assuming that everything inside it represents an official conclusion. Intelligence agencies collect information from countless sources, including rumors, witness statements, intercepted communications, foreign newspapers, anonymous tips, and reports passed through other governments. Some material is accurate, some is mistaken. Some may be deliberate disinformation. Yet all of it can end up preserved because analysts often need to record a claim before they can judge it. This explains why government archives contain remarkable allegations that were never formally endorsed. A bizarre report can still matter if officials believed an adversary might act on it. It may also reveal what people feared or believed at a particular moment. For mystery researchers, this distinction is crucial. A classified stamp proves the document was handled as sensitive information. It does not automatically prove the claim inside was true. Even so, the fact that officials thought certain stories were worth recording can be fascinating in its own right. The Guy Hottle memo became famous for describing an extraordinary flying saucer claim. In 1950, an FBI field office received a report that later became one of the most downloaded documents in the Bureau's online archive. The memo described an informant's claim about several disc-shaped craft recovered in New Mexico. It even mentioned small occupants said to have been found inside them. The document sounds astonishing until its origins are examined more closely. The agent was not describing something he had personally witnessed. He was passing along information that had already traveled through other people. Investigators have linked the story to earlier newspaper claims and a notorious UFO hoax involving supposed crashed saucers. Yet the document remains irresistible because it proves that such extraordinary reports reached official channels. Believers wonder whether the mundane explanation arrived later to bury something more important. Skeptics see a perfect example of rumor becoming government paperwork. Either way, the memo shows how a single extraordinary claim can gain new power simply by surviving inside an official file. Project Mogul stayed classified, or the Roswell mystery grew around its activities. Project Mogul was created to solve a terrifying Cold War problem. American officials wanted a way to detect distant Soviet nuclear tests before conventional monitoring systems could reliably do the job. Researchers experimented with long trains of balloons carrying instruments high into the atmosphere. Because the mission involved gathering intelligence about nuclear activity, the project's real purpose could not be openly discussed. This secrecy later became crucial to the Roswell story. Materials associated with one of these balloon efforts may have looked unusual to people unfamiliar with their construction. Yet officials could not simply explain why such equipment was being flown across New Mexico. Decades later, declassified details made Mogul central to the government's explanation for the famous debris. Some people accept that account as the missing answer. Others argue that it does not resolve every witness statement that emerged later. What makes Mogul fascinating is that the project was genuinely secret, genuinely unusual, and operating in exactly the region where the larger mystery began. Secret aircraft testing may explain some historic UFO sightings near restricted bases. Imagine seeing a machine unlike any aircraft publicly known, moving across the night sky near a place officials refused to discuss. During the Cold War, that situation was entirely possible. Highly classified prototypes were tested before their shapes or capabilities appeared in newspapers. Witnesses could therefore report something accurately while still reaching the wrong conclusion about what they had seen. Intelligence officials sometimes had an additional problem. Correcting a UFO story might reveal the existence of the very aircraft they were trying to protect. Silence was safer. This has led some historians to suspect that part of the early UFO phenomenon was unintentionally strengthened by secret aviation programs. Yet that explanation creates its own puzzle. If classified aircraft account for some reports, which sightings remain unexplained after known projects are removed? Restricted airspace has produced enough unusual observations to keep that question alive. The secret aircraft theory can reduce the mystery in one case while making another case more interesting by eliminating an obvious possibility. Soviet intelligence files disappeared into uncertain archives after the Cold War ended. When the Soviet Union collapsed, researchers briefly gained access to records that had once been almost unimaginable to outsiders. Intelligence archives held information about espionage networks, political operations, surveillance, and internal investigations conducted across decades. Yet access was uneven and sometimes temporary. Some files became available through individual officials or rapidly changing institutions. Others remained under the control of successor agencies. Records were moved, restricted, lost, or absorbed into collections whose full contents were difficult to trace. This created a remarkable historical window that opened only partly before narrowing again. Memoirs and copied documents appeared in the West, sometimes carrying information that could no longer be checked against the original archive. That situation has produced continuing arguments about authenticity and context. Somewhere inside the surviving collections, may be answers to unresolved Cold War cases. There may also be records that vanished during the political chaos of the transition. The mystery is not merely what the Soviet services knew. It is also what evidence still survives. Governments have classified information simply because revealing it exposed intelligence methods. A secret document does not need to contain a dramatic conspiracy to be dangerous. Sometimes the sensitive part is the way the information was obtained. Imagine the report describing an ordinary military meeting inside a rival country. Revealing that report could tell the rival that a room was bugged or that someone nearby was secretly providing information. Even harmless facts can therefore remain classified when they expose a valuable method. This explains why old records can look strangely overprotected from the outside. A sentence about weather conditions might reveal satellite capabilities. A routine technical measurement might show exactly how accurately a sensor can operate. Intelligence agencies often guard these details because methods can remain useful long after a particular mission ends. For researchers, this creates an important complication. Heavy secrecy does not automatically mean the hidden passage contains something shocking. Yet the opposite is also possible. A supposedly technical redaction can conceal the mechanism behind an extraordinary operation. The reason for secrecy may be more interesting than the secret itself. The glamour response allowed agencies to neither confirm nor deny secret records existed. One of the strangest phrases in government secrecy began with an operation so sensitive that even acknowledging its subject could reveal too much. When journalists sought information connected to a covert CIA project involving a sunken Soviet submarine, officials refused to confirm whether relevant records existed at all. That answer became known as the glamour response. It created a remarkable legal idea. In certain circumstances, simply saying yes or no can disclose protected information. Agencies have since used similar responses in cases involving intelligence, surveillance, and national security. To outsiders, the wording can sound almost comical, because the government appears to be withholding the existence of the thing being requested. Yet that is precisely the point. A denial might reveal that no operation occurred. A confirmation might expose an operation immediately. The resulting silence creates an unusual kind of mystery, where even the presence of a file becomes classified information. Sometimes the first secret is whether there is a secret to discover. CIA files contain instructions for disguises designed for intelligence officers operating undercover. Espionage disguises were not always about dramatic masks or theatrical costumes. Real intelligence work demanded something much subtler. An officer might need to alter age, posture, hair, clothing, or facial appearance without attracting attention from trained surveillance teams. Declassified CIA materials have revealed techniques developed for exactly that purpose. Specialists created ways to change how a person looked from a distance and at close range. Some transformations were designed to happen quickly during an operation. Others helped officers maintain a false identity over longer periods. The challenge was psychological as much as visual, because a disguise had to match the behavior expected from the person supposedly wearing it. One wrong detail could invite scrutiny. The subject became especially important in cities where hostile security services watched suspected intelligence personnel closely. These files turned spy fiction into something unexpectedly practical. They show that changing an identity was treated as an engineering problem with measurable risks. The best disguise was not spectacular. It was forgettable. Some secret documents were hidden inside ordinary archives under deliberately unremarkable descriptions. A highly sensitive record does not always announce itself with a dramatic label. Archivists and intelligence officers have sometimes used bland wording because boring descriptions attract less curiosity. A folder might appear to concern logistics or routine administration, while containing references to something far more important. This creates an unusual challenge for researchers. Finding hidden history can depend on recognizing that an ordinary phrase is actually connected to a classified codename or compartment. In some cases, documents were filed according to the office that produced them, rather than the extraordinary operation they described. The result is a paper trail scattered across collections that appear unrelated. A researcher searching only for the famous project name may therefore miss crucial evidence sitting under an administrative heading. This possibility fuels the idea that important discoveries remain inside archives that are technically open. Nothing is locked away. Nobody has simply connected the right pages yet. Secret history can survive through concealment, but it can also survive because its paperwork looks too boring to read. Cold War planners studied underground facilities designed to survive catastrophic national emergencies. Deep beneath mountains and behind reinforced entrances, governments prepared locations intended to keep command structures functioning during the worst imaginable crisis. These facilities were built with communication systems, protected work areas, independent supplies, and defenses against conditions that might make ordinary government buildings unusable. Some became publicly known only years later. Others were hidden behind innocent-sounding descriptions or placed far from major cities. Their existence reveals how seriously Cold War leaders considered the possibility that national authority might need to continue from underground. The planning went beyond simple shelters. Officials had to decide who would be moved there, how orders would be transmitted, and what would happen if normal institutions stopped functioning. That raises uncomfortable questions about priorities made in secret. Who was considered essential? How long could a hidden government operate? What backup sites existed if the main location failed? Declassified records have answered part of that story. The complete architecture of continuity planning has always been harder to see. Presidential emergency files once contained plans intended for unimaginable national crises. Some of the most sensitive papers surrounding a national leader are not about ordinary politics at all. They concern what happens when normal government suddenly becomes impossible. During the Cold War, presidential emergency planning addressed scenarios involving attacks on command structures and the potential loss of communications with large parts of the country. Procedures had to exist before a crisis because there might be no time to invent them afterward. These plans included extraordinary questions about succession, military authority, protected transportation, and continuity of decision-making. Much of this material was highly restricted because adversaries could exploit knowledge of how the system responded under pressure. Even decades later, pieces of emergency planning remain difficult to reconstruct completely. The subject fascinates conspiracy-minded researchers because it concerns powers designed for moments when ordinary rules may no longer operate normally. Most of these procedures were created for events everyone hoped would never occur. Their secrecy leaves a larger mystery about what modern versions might contain and how much has changed. The Pentagon secretly investigated unusual aerospace reports long after Project Blue Book ended. For years, many people assumed official American interest in unidentified aerial phenomena largely ended with the closure of Project Blue Book. Later, revelations complicated that picture. Programs connected to the Pentagon examined reports involving unusual objects and potential aerospace threats decades after the earlier investigation had finished. The modern effort attracted attention because some cases involved military witnesses and sensor data, rather than distant stories from anonymous civilians. Officials framed the question around national security rather than extraterrestrial life. An unknown object near military operations matters, even if its origin turns out to be completely conventional. Yet the renewed interest surprised people who had believed the subject was officially closed. It also encouraged speculation that additional programs might have existed under other names. Supporters of disclosure argue that the government knows far more than it has released. Critics caution that investigating a strange report does not confirm anything exotic. The important point is simpler. Official curiosity continued long after the public had been given the impression that the chapter was finished. Intelligence agencies collected reports about strange phenomena far beyond conventional espionage. Secret archives can contain subjects that seem completely disconnected from spies, armies, or political leaders. During periods of intense rivalry, intelligence services sometimes gathered reports about paranormal claims, unexplained atmospheric events, unusual biological stories, and rumored technologies. They did not need to believe these reports were true. An adversary's interest alone could make a strange subject worth monitoring. If another government spent money investigating an extraordinary possibility, intelligence analysts wanted to understand why. This produced files where serious national security concerns sat beside ideas that sounded wildly speculative. Some programs vanished after failing to produce useful results. Others generated enough unusual findings to remain controversial long after funding ended. The existence of the paperwork can be misleading because collection is not confirmation. Yet the willingness to investigate such material reveals something important about intelligence thinking. Secret agencies are paid to consider surprises before everyone else does. Occasionally, that means examining possibilities that most people would dismiss immediately. The archive becomes a record of what officials feared might possibly be true. Declassified files reveal elaborate attempts to recover technology belonging to rival nations. Stealing secrets does not always require stealing documents. Sometimes the most valuable intelligence is a physical machine. During the Cold War, governments went to extraordinary lengths to obtain enemy aircraft, missiles, radar components, communication systems, and weapons. Engineers could learn things from captured hardware that photographs alone could never reveal. They could measure materials, test performance, and discover weaknesses hidden by propaganda. Recovery operations therefore became intensely secret because possession of the equipment could expose an intelligence source or embarrass another country. Sometimes technology arrived through defectors. In other cases, damaged equipment was recovered from remote locations or obtained through friendly governments. Each opportunity offered a shortcut into years of foreign research. The most intriguing files concern systems nobody expected the opposing side to possess. Those discoveries could force military planners to reconsider their assumptions overnight. For conspiracy-minded observers, the obvious question follows. If known programs recovered remarkable machines from rivals, what unfamiliar technology might have been acquired through operations that remain classified today? Project Oxcart produced an aircraft whose existence remained secret for many years. Before the famous Blackbird became a symbol of high-speed reconnaissance, the CIA was already developing an extraordinary predecessor under Project Oxcart. The aircraft that emerged was the A-12. It was designed to fly extremely fast and extremely high, while reducing the chance that enemy radar could track it effectively. Creating such a machine required new materials and new solutions to problems caused by tremendous heat at speed. Even the fuel presented unusual engineering demands. Testing took place under strict security because revealing the aircraft could compromise its purpose before it ever entered service. Workers and pilots operated inside a world where ordinary explanations were often impossible to provide. The A-12 eventually flew real reconnaissance missions, yet the wider public knew little about it. Its history demonstrates how far secret aviation could advance ahead of public awareness. When witnesses reported astonishing aircraft near restricted areas, they were sometimes seeing technology that sounded futuristic because the future had already arrived behind classified fences. Some classified aircraft flew so high that witnesses struggled to identify them. Altitude can transform something familiar into something deeply strange. Early high-flying reconnaissance aircraft operated above the normal routes used by commercial aviation at the time. From the ground, observers might see sunlight reflecting from an aircraft whose shape was impossible to make out. Pilots at lower altitudes could also encounter objects far above them that seemed to behave unlike conventional traffic. Before the public understood what advanced reconnaissance programs could do, these sightings sometimes entered UFO reporting systems. The government faced a dilemma because explaining certain cases honestly would reveal classified performance information. Officials therefore had strong reasons to let some confusion continue. That does not mean every unidentified sighting came from a secret aircraft. It means the historical record contains an unusual category where the witness could be correct about seeing something extraordinary while mistaken about its origin. Years later, declassification can suddenly make an old report understandable. Yet whenever one mystery is solved this way, another question appears. Which sightings still resist every known aircraft explanation? The CIA secretly acquired Soviet military equipment to discover exactly how it worked. Knowing an enemy possesses a powerful weapon is useful. Having the actual weapon in front of your engineers is far better. During the Cold War, American intelligence sought opportunities to examine Soviet hardware directly. Equipment obtained from battlefields, foreign partners, defectors, or covert transfers could reveal capabilities that Soviet secrecy kept hidden. Specialists studied everything from radar characteristics to construction quality. They wanted to learn not only what the equipment could do, but also what it could not do. A hidden weakness might shape an entire military strategy. Even small design choices could reveal how Soviet engineers thought about combat. These programs had to remain secret because Moscow could change equipment once it learned which systems had been compromised. Public knowledge might also expose the country or individual who supplied the hardware. The resulting files often read like reverse engineering mysteries. A captured machine becomes a message from the other side. Every component contains information, and sometimes the most valuable secret is a flaw its creators never intended anyone to find. American pilots secretly flew captured Soviet fighters during highly restricted evaluation programs. A captured enemy fighter offered an opportunity no intelligence report could match. American pilots could climb into the cockpit and discover how the aircraft actually behaved in the air. Secret evaluation programs used Soviet-designed fighters obtained through unusual channels to test their strengths and weaknesses firsthand. Pilots learned how quickly the aircraft accelerated, where visibility became difficult, and which maneuvers placed it at a disadvantage. That knowledge could later be shared with selected combat crews, without revealing exactly how it had been obtained. The programs were highly restricted because the political consequences of public exposure could be enormous. Soviet officials were not supposed to know their aircraft were being flown and studied in American hands. Some evaluations took place at remote test locations where unusual jets could operate away from curious observers. For anyone who happened to see one, the experience must have been baffling. A Soviet fighter was flying inside the United States, yet there was no public reason why such a thing should have been possible. Restricted test ranges became laboratories for technologies the public had never seen. A secret aircraft needs more than a hidden hangar. It needs enormous stretches of controlled airspace where pilots can test systems without commercial traffic or casual observers getting too close. Remote military ranges became ideal places for this work. Engineers could evaluate unusual shapes, experimental sensors, new propulsion ideas, and classified weapons under conditions that were difficult to reproduce elsewhere. The surrounding secrecy changed the character of these locations. Workers might know only the part of a program connected to their own job. Different projects could operate near one another without their teams sharing full details. To outsiders, unusual sounds or unexpected aircraft became clues without context. This is one reason restricted ranges attract such intense speculation. Real technology far ahead of public knowledge has genuinely been tested inside them. That fact makes more exotic rumors difficult to dismiss emotionally, even when evidence is weak. The fences therefore protect more than equipment. They protect a permanent possibility that something remarkable is being tested just beyond public view. Satellite programs photographed enormous areas while their true capabilities remain tightly classified. The first generations of reconnaissance satellites changed intelligence forever because they allowed governments to inspect distant territory without sending a pilot across hostile borders. Yet the public often knew little about what these machines could actually see. Resolution, orbital patterns, camera systems, and targeting methods became closely guarded secrets. A rival who understood those capabilities could hide important activity at the right time or build equipment specifically designed to deceive the cameras. Intelligence agencies therefore protected not only the photographs, but also technical details about how the images were produced. Even political leaders sometimes received selected products rather than full explanations of the system behind them. As technology improved, satellites could monitor developments that previously required dangerous reconnaissance flights. Missile sites and military construction became far harder to conceal completely. The mystery surrounding these programs has always involved the gap between public imagination and classified reality. At different moments, secret capabilities have turned out to be both less magical and far more impressive than outsiders assumed. Early spy satellites sometimes returned photographs to Earth inside falling film capsules. Before digital transmission made space imagery seem effortless, reconnaissance satellites faced a remarkable problem. They could photograph secret targets from orbit, but the physical film still had to reach analysts on Earth. Engineers developed capsules that separated from the spacecraft and fell back through the atmosphere. Aircraft crews then attempted to catch them in mid-air as they descended beneath parachutes. The procedure sounds like a stunt from an adventure film, yet it became part of the real intelligence system. If the airborne recovery failed, backup plans allowed capsules to be retrieved after landing. Each successful return delivered photographs that had traveled from orbit inside a small package, exposed to enormous forces during re-entry. The method required precise timing and extraordinary coordination. It also created obvious risks because losing a capsule could mean losing an entire mission's intelligence. These early systems reveal how inventive secret programs had to be before modern electronics existed. Sometimes the future arrived using film, parachutes, and an aircraft waiting beneath the falling evidence. Project Corona remained secret while its satellites quietly photographed the Soviet Union. Corona became one of the great hidden achievements of early space reconnaissance. Publicly, some launches were presented through cover stories that concealed their true intelligence purpose. Behind that explanation was a program designed to photograph strategic targets across the Soviet Union and other sensitive regions. The first attempts were plagued by failures. Rockets malfunctioned, cameras failed, and recovery systems did not always behave as planned. Eventually, the program succeeded and began returning imagery on a scale that transformed American understanding of Soviet capabilities. Analysts could examine missile facilities and military infrastructure without relying entirely on uncertain estimates. This helped reduce some dangerous assumptions about the size of the opposing arsenal. Yet the people watching launches from outside had little idea what was actually happening above them. Corona proved that an enormous intelligence operation could operate in space while its true purpose remained hidden from the public. When the program was finally declassified, it revealed that some of the earliest peaceful-looking steps into orbit had carried a second mission. Intelligence files reveal ingenious attempts to hide surveillance devices inside everyday objects. A listening device is most effective when nobody realizes there is anything unusual to find. Intelligence engineers therefore learned to hide surveillance technology inside objects that would not attract attention. The challenge was not simply making a microphone small enough. It had to receive power, transmit information, survive normal handling, and avoid detection during searches. Sometimes the surrounding object provided the perfect cover because it naturally belonged in an office or meeting room. Other designs relied on architecture itself. Walls and furnishings could become part of the surveillance system without changing how a room looked. Counterintelligence teams responded by developing increasingly sophisticated ways to search the hidden electronics. That produced a technological contest where every new method inspired a new countermeasure. Declassified examples can seem almost playful until their purpose is remembered. A harmless object might have carried conversations across borders without anyone nearby knowing. The most unsettling possibility is that the cleverest devices are precisely the ones history never discovered, because successful surveillance leaves no evidence behind. Operation Gold secretly tunneled beneath Berlin to intercept Soviet military communications. In divided Berlin, Western intelligence agencies attempted an operation that required extraordinary patience and engineering. A tunnel was constructed from the American sector toward underground communication lines used by Soviet forces. The goal was to tap those cables without alerting the people speaking through them. Workers had to excavate secretly while controlling noise and hiding the vast amount of soil produced underground. The finished tunnel contained equipment capable of collecting streams of valuable military communication. For months, analysts listened to material that could reveal Soviet intentions and organization. The operation appeared to be a remarkable success until the tunnel was publicly discovered. Yet the deeper story was even stranger. Soviet intelligence had already learned about the project through a source inside British intelligence. Rather than immediately stop it, they allowed the operation to continue for a time. That decision protected their source from suspicion. The tunnel therefore became an extraordinary intelligence paradox. It was both compromised and productive, while each side concealed what it knew from the other. The discovery of a hidden listening tunnel created another mystery about betrayal. When Soviet forces dramatically exposed the Berlin Tunnel in 1956, the discovery seemed like an embarrassing end to a Western intelligence triumph. Photographs of the underground installation quickly became propaganda material. The public story suggested that Soviet technicians had found the tunnel through their own efforts. In reality, the operation had been betrayed before construction was complete. George Blake had secretly informed Soviet intelligence while working inside the British intelligence system. Moscow then faced a delicate problem. Closing the tunnel immediately might reveal that Blake had access to the project. Allowing it to operate meant sacrificing genuine communications to protect him. Historians have debated how carefully the Soviets managed this balance and whether every conversation carried through the tapped lines was authentic. Could selected traffic have been shaped to mislead Western listeners? The possibility turns a physical espionage operation into a deeper puzzle about manipulated information. Once a secret channel is known to the enemy, every message traveling through it becomes questionable. The intelligence may be valuable, fabricated, or deliberately mixed. Cambridge spy files exposed how deeply trusted insiders could penetrate British intelligence. The Cambridge spy scandal challenged the comforting idea that dangerous agents would look suspicious from the outside. Several men recruited into Soviet espionage came from privileged backgrounds and later entered influential positions within the British establishment. Their education and social connections helped them appear dependable to institutions that placed enormous value on personal reputation. From inside government, they gained access to sensitive material that could be passed to Moscow. The damage extended beyond individual documents. A trusted insider could reveal how an organization thought, who its sources were, and which operations mattered most. When suspicions finally surfaced, the resulting investigations became tangled with embarrassment, because admitting the scale of penetration meant acknowledging major security failures. Questions lingered for years about whether additional members of the network had escaped identification. The affair permanently changed how intelligence services viewed loyalty. A perfect background could no longer be treated as proof of reliability. The greatest security threat might not be someone breaking through the door. It might be someone who already possessed the key. Kim Philby remained highly trusted while secretly passing information to Soviet intelligence. Kim Philby's career remains astonishing because he reached senior intelligence positions while working for the opposing side. He handled sensitive responsibilities and developed relationships with people who had every reason to believe he was dependable. Meanwhile, information flowed from his access to Soviet intelligence. Philby could warn Moscow about operations and expose people whose safety depended on secrecy. Suspicion eventually gathered around him, yet proving betrayal was difficult. He denied the accusations and even benefited from public expressions of confidence. His ability to survive repeated doubts became part of his legend. When he finally disappeared from Beirut and surfaced in Moscow, the scale of the deception became impossible to ignore. Philby's story is not mysterious because historians doubt he was a spy. The mystery lies in how long he remained protected by trust. Intelligence agencies are designed to detect deception, yet personal relationships and institutional assumptions can create blind spots. The person reading the most secret files may also be the person quietly carrying them elsewhere. Some espionage files stayed classified because suspected spies were never publicly identified. An intelligence service can suspect someone for years without ever obtaining enough evidence to make a public accusation. Those cases create files filled with surveillance reports, intercepted clues, confidential testimony, and competing assessments. Releasing them can be dangerous because suspicion is not proof. A person may have been innocent. Their relatives may still be alive. Another source mentioned inside the investigation may remain sensitive. As a result, some historical espionage cases stay partly hidden long after the political conflict that created them has ended. Researchers sometimes encounter code names for people whose real identities remain officially protected. This produces a peculiar form of unfinished history. The government may know exactly who was under investigation, while the public sees only fragments. In other cases, officials themselves may never have resolved the question. Was the suspect truly an agent, or simply surrounded by coincidences? A sealed identity can therefore protect privacy and national security at the same time. It can also preserve a mystery that might otherwise have disappeared decades ago. The identity of certain Cold War intelligence sources may still remain protected. Human sources can create some of the longest-lived secrets in any archive. A person who secretly provided information during the Cold War might have had children, colleagues, or associates who never knew what happened. Revealing that identity could damage reputations or create diplomatic consequences generations later. Intelligence agencies also make promises to sources because future informants must believe those promises will be honored. If every name eventually became public, recruiting new sources could become more difficult. This helps explain why very old documents may still contain blank spaces where a name should be. Yet those missing identities can matter enormously to historians. Knowing who supplied a report can completely change how trustworthy the information appears. A senior official with direct access is different from someone repeating gossip. Without the source's name, readers may be unable to judge the evidence properly. The redaction therefore protects a person while weakening historical certainty. Somewhere behind a blacked-out line may be the individual who could explain an entire unresolved episode. Secret communications sometimes used one-time pads considered virtually impossible to crack. A one-time pad can produce an astonishing level of secrecy when it is used correctly. The sender combines a message with a completely random key that is used only once. The recipient holds a matching copy and reverses the process. If the key is truly random, remains secret, and is never reused, there is no repeating pattern for a codebreaker to exploit. The mathematics can make the encryption effectively unbreakable, even with unlimited computing power. That extraordinary strength creates a very ordinary weakness. People must produce, distribute, protect, and destroy the pads perfectly. Lose one copy and an enemy may read messages. Reuse part of a pad and hidden relationships can suddenly appear between separate transmissions. Intelligence history is therefore full of situations where brilliant cryptography depended on simple human discipline. Tiny booklets of random numbers could protect information more securely than enormous machines. The mystery was not how to defeat the mathematics. It was whether the people using the system had made one small mistake. Tiny mistakes in Soviet encryption helped Western analysts uncover enormous hidden networks. During the enormous pressures of wartime communication, Soviet cryptographic systems sometimes reused key material that should never have appeared twice. To the people sending the messages, this may have seemed like a manageable shortcut, caused by shortages and urgent demand. To patient codebreakers, it created an opening. When two messages use related key material, mathematical relationships can emerge that reveal parts of the hidden text. Analysts spent years exploiting those weaknesses and comparing fragments against names, dates, and known events. Progress could be painfully slow. A single deciphered word might unlock another section months later. Gradually, isolated pieces began pointing toward networks of secret contacts operating far from Moscow. The remarkable lesson is that the underlying encryption method had not necessarily failed. Implementation had failed. An almost perfect system had been weakened by practical pressure. That tiny operational flaw ultimately exposed information of enormous historical importance. In secret communications, the difference between complete darkness and unexpected visibility can depend on one rule being broken only once. The Manhattan Project concealed an industrial operation involving entire secret communities. The effort to build the first atomic weapons was so large that hiding it seems almost impossible in hindsight. Tens of thousands of people worked at specially constructed sites across the United States. Entire towns appeared around facilities whose real purpose remained restricted. Workers often performed highly specific jobs without knowing how their task connected to the larger project. Mail was monitored, and movement could be controlled. Even conversations between colleagues were limited by strict compartmentalization. At Oak Ridge, huge industrial plants consumed astonishing amounts of electricity while producing materials for a weapon most employees had never been told existed. Los Alamos operated behind another layer of secrecy because researchers there were assembling the final devices. The project shows that secrecy does not always require keeping every person ignorant. It can work by giving thousands of people only one small piece of the puzzle. An enormous hidden undertaking can therefore exist in plain sight, while very few participants understand what they are helping create. Workers at secret atomic sites often knew little about the larger mission. A person could spend every working day inside one of the most important projects in human history and still have no clear idea what the project was. Security rules deliberately separated employees according to what they needed to know. A technician might monitor machinery without understanding what material moved through it. A cleaner could enter a sensitive building while knowing nothing about the experiments conducted there. Even scientists were sometimes denied information outside their particular assignments. This structure reduced the damage one careless conversation could cause. It also created a strange social environment where curiosity itself could become suspicious. People noticed unusual security and enormous construction projects. They saw guarded gates and unfamiliar equipment. Yet asking too many questions could attract attention. Some workers reportedly learned the true purpose only after the atomic bomb became public in 1945. The mystery was not hidden thousands of miles away. It surrounded them every day. They had been living inside a secret without being allowed to see its complete shape. Soviet spies penetrated one of history's most carefully guarded scientific projects. The Manhattan Project surrounded itself with fences and background checks, yet Soviet intelligence still obtained information from people inside it. Klaus Fuchs became one of the best-known examples. He was a physicist with access to important technical knowledge and secretly passed material to Soviet contacts. Other espionage connections widened the breach. This did not mean Moscow simply received a complete American weapon design ready to copy. Soviet scientists conducted their own extensive work. Still, stolen information helped confirm which approaches were promising and reduced uncertainty around difficult technical questions. The episode is remarkable because the project was protected at the highest levels available at the time. Security officers were hunting for exactly this kind of penetration. Yet personal ideology and trusted professional status allowed secrets to move outward. The case revealed a permanent weakness in classified systems. Locks protect buildings, but information ultimately has to reach human beings. Once someone with genuine access decides to share it, even an extraordinary security structure can develop a hidden doorway. Atomic intelligence files transformed seemingly ordinary names into clues about hidden espionage. Espionage investigations often begin with fragments that make little sense on their own. The first name appears in an intercepted message. A meeting location is mentioned without explanation. An unknown person is identified only through a code name. Atomic espionage files contained many such clues. Investigators compared them with employment records and travel histories. They also examined personal relationships to determine who might fit the hidden identity. Sometimes years passed before separate pieces connected. A harmless-looking name could suddenly become central to an investigation because another document revealed who had been present at the right place and time. This process created intense uncertainty. A mistaken identification could damage an innocent person. A correct one could expose an entire network. Code names such as Charles or Rest became puzzles that analysts tried to match with real individuals. The drama of these files comes from their incompleteness. They rarely arrive with a complete explanation. Instead, investigators build the story backward from tiny traces left by people who believed nobody was watching. Governments created entire classification systems to separate secrets by their potential consequences. Official secrecy is not one locked room. It is a hierarchy designed to measure how damaging information could be if it became public. Different classification levels allow officials to distinguish between material that requires protection and information whose exposure might create exceptionally serious consequences. These systems also shape how documents are stored and transmitted. A highly classified report may require approved facilities and specially cleared personnel. Copies can be tracked because uncontrolled duplication creates another security risk. The markings printed across a page, therefore, do more than warn the reader. They determine what can legally happen to that page next. Classification also changes over time. Information that once threatened national security may later become historical. Other material can remain sensitive because the underlying capability still exists. This produces strange combinations inside archives where one sentence is public while the next remains hidden. The system attempts to rank danger with bureaucratic precision. Yet every classification decision still depends on human judgment about what an adversary could learn. Top secret is not always the highest barrier surrounding sensitive information. The words top secret sound like the end of the road. In reality, Access to certain information can require far more than holding a high-level security clearance. Particularly sensitive programs may be placed behind additional controls that limit exactly who can know they exist. A person can therefore be trusted with major national secrets while remaining completely excluded from another project taking place nearby. This surprises people because clearance is often imagined as a universal key. It is closer to permission to approach particular doors. Further authorization may still be required before any door opens. These extra barriers are designed to reduce the number of people exposed to information whose disclosure would be especially damaging. They can also prevent employees from connecting details outside their assigned responsibilities. The result is a world where two officials with impressive credentials may possess completely different versions of what their government is doing. Sometimes the most sensitive secret is protected not by a higher classification label, but by restricting who is even allowed to ask about it. Special access programs can restrict secrets beyond an ordinary security clearance. A special access program places additional protection around information that officials believe requires exceptional control. Entry can depend on a specific role rather than general seniority. Names of authorized personnel may be recorded carefully. Meetings can take place inside secure facilities where electronic devices are restricted. Even the program's nickname or existence may receive protection. This creates a highly compartmented environment where knowledge does not spread simply because someone works inside the same department. Such programs can involve advanced military systems and sensitive intelligence activities. Some eventually become public when secrecy is no longer necessary. Others remain partially hidden even after their broad purpose is acknowledged. For outsiders, the concept helps explain why asking one government employee about a rumored project may produce a sincere denial. That person may genuinely have no access to it. Secrecy can therefore create different realities inside the same institution. One office may consider a project routine daily work, while another office nearby has never officially heard of it. Some officials may hold clearances without being permitted to know particular secrets. Security access follows a principle that sounds simple but has enormous consequences. A person should receive classified information only when it is necessary for their work. This is known as need to know. Holding a clearance establishes that someone may be trusted with information at a certain level. It does not mean they automatically receive everything beneath that level. A senior officer might therefore know nothing about a sensitive technical program handled by a different team. A scientist could possess detailed knowledge of one component while remaining unaware of the systems surrounding it. This structure helps contain leaks because no individual needs to carry the entire picture. It can also create confusion when major decisions require information scattered across separate compartments. Critics sometimes wonder whether extreme secrecy prevents officials from recognizing important connections. Supporters argue that unrestricted sharing would create unacceptable risks. Either way, the system means that even insiders can encounter mysteries inside their own organizations. Government secrecy does not merely separate the public from hidden information. It can separate cleared officials from one another. Code word compartments can divide one classified operation into tightly separated pieces. Large intelligence projects can be broken into sections that function almost like separate secret worlds. Each compartment may have its own code word and its own approved list of personnel. Someone working on one section might understand their task perfectly, while knowing almost nothing about a neighboring section. Engineers could build equipment without knowing where it would operate. Analysts might study data without being told exactly how it was collected. This allows a project to continue even if one part becomes compromised, because the exposed team cannot reveal everything else. It also makes historical reconstruction difficult. Decades later, released records may mention code words whose relationships are unclear. Researchers can mistakenly assume two names describe separate operations when they actually belong to the same larger system. The reverse can happen too. Similar terminology may hide completely unrelated work. Compartmentation protects secrets by deliberately breaking context apart. The full truth exists somewhere across many pieces, but very few people are ever permitted to assemble the entire picture at once. Even senior leaders may receive only selected information about sensitive intelligence programs. Power does not always equal unlimited access. Senior officials often receive briefings tailored to the decisions they must make, rather than every operational detail behind the information. An intelligence report might explain what analysts believe without identifying the human source who provided a crucial clue. A military leader could be told that a capability exists without learning the exact technology that makes it possible. This protects fragile sources while still allowing policy decisions to move forward. Yet selective briefing creates one of the most intriguing questions surrounding secret government. How much does any single leader truly know? Public imagination often assumes that presidents or prime ministers can simply demand every hidden file. In practice, information systems are built around relevance and security procedures. Exceptional authority can change access, but organizations still filter enormous amounts of classified material before it reaches the top. The idea of one person holding every national secret is probably misleading. The complete picture may exist only as a collection spread across many people and compartments. Secret files sometimes remain classified because foreign governments supplied the original information. Intelligence sharing creates secrets that belong to more than one country. A government may receive sensitive information from an ally under strict conditions about how it can be used and who can see it. Years later, that promise can still affect whether the record becomes public. Declassifying the file without permission could expose the ally's source or reveal a capability they continue to protect. It could also damage trust between intelligence services that depend on confidential exchange. This means an apparently harmless old document may remain restricted because another government effectively has a stake in its secrecy. Researchers can sometimes identify these cases when domestic records contain unexplained omissions around foreign material. The missing information may have little to do with the country holding the archive. Instead, it protects a relationship built decades earlier. That creates an international chain of silence. One agency cannot fully open its historical files because doing so might reveal somebody else's secret. The document becomes trapped between governments long after the original crisis has faded. Old documents can reveal living intelligence sources many decades after events occurred. Time does not erase every danger inside an archive. Someone recruited as a young intelligence source could still be alive 60 or 70 years later. A document that seems ancient to a researcher may therefore contain information capable of exposing a living person. Even when the source has died, a file can reveal relatives or associates who never knew about the secret relationship. Agencies take this seriously because intelligence work depends heavily on promises of protection. A source may have risked imprisonment or worse in the belief that their identity would remain concealed. Breaking that promise merely because the operation became historical could make future sources less willing to cooperate. This produces unusually long periods of secrecy around certain names. The surrounding events may become public while the person at their center remains hidden. For historians, that missing identity can leave a major gap in understanding. For the agency, the gap may be the proof that a promise made in another era is still being kept. Declassification reviewers occasionally discover secrets hidden inside files already considered historically harmless. Opening old records is not always a simple matter of removing a stamp and sending the box to an archive. Reviewers may encounter information that was overlooked during earlier examinations. A seemingly routine report can contain the name of a protected source or a technical detail linked to a capability that remains sensitive. This forces reviewers to judge old words according to modern risks. Sometimes one paragraph stays hidden while hundreds of surrounding pages become public. The process can produce surprising reversals. A subject everyone assumes has been fully declassified may still contain isolated details officials consider dangerous. Other passages, once heavily protected, may suddenly be released because the risk has disappeared. This makes declassification a moving target rather than a single historical event. The same file can exist in several public versions across different decades. Comparing those versions can reveal exactly what the government became willing to acknowledge over time. Occasionally, the most intriguing discovery is not new information. It is noticing which tiny piece officials still refuse to release. Some archives contain sealed envelopes that researchers cannot yet legally open. Historical collections sometimes include material placed under restrictions that expire only after a particular date or condition is reached. Researchers can know the envelope exists. They may know who created it and roughly when it was deposited. Yet they cannot legally examine what is inside. The restriction might protect private correspondence or national security information. It could also reflect an agreement made when a collection was donated. This creates a rare kind of mystery with a visible countdown. Unlike a missing file, the sealed material is physically present. People know an answer may be waiting inside, but the rules say the answer cannot be read yet. Expectations can grow wildly during the delay. When such material finally opens, it may reveal something dramatic or turn out to be disappointingly ordinary. That uncertainty is part of the fascination. A sealed envelope in an archive represents knowledge deliberately postponed. History has already happened, the evidence already exists, and the only remaining barrier is permission to look. Missing pages can create mysteries that survive long after surrounding files become public. A folder can be almost complete and still leave one crucial question unanswered. Researchers sometimes find numbering gaps where a page clearly once existed but is no longer present. An attachment may be mentioned in a memo without appearing anywhere in the archive. A later document might refer to conclusions from a report that nobody can locate. There are many possible explanations. Papers can be misfiled or destroyed according to routine schedules. They can also be removed for security reasons before a collection is opened. Without evidence showing what happened, the gap itself becomes part of the historical record. This can be especially frustrating when surviving pages build toward a decision and then suddenly stop. The missing material may have contained the most ordinary administrative detail. It might also have explained why an important operation changed direction. Researchers are left reconstructing possibilities from references elsewhere. A single absent page can therefore hold more attention than hundreds of pages sitting openly beside it. What survives tells the story, but what disappears shapes it too. Destroyed records sometimes leave historians dependent on surviving references inside unrelated documents. Once an original file is gone, its history may have to be rebuilt from echoes. A memorandum can mention a report that no longer survives. An expense sheet might record money transferred to a project whose operational papers vanished. A diary entry can describe a meeting that official records never preserved. Researchers combine these fragments to infer what the missing material probably contained. The method resembles solving a puzzle after someone removed the central pieces. Sometimes the indirect evidence is strong enough to establish the basic story. Other times it creates several plausible versions that cannot be separated. Intelligence history is particularly vulnerable because records may be deliberately destroyed for security or administrative reasons. The absence of files does not prove an extraordinary cover-up. Yet destruction can permanently eliminate the evidence needed to answer that question either way. In those cases, historians must work around the silence. A project may become known not because its documents survived, but because too many other documents accidentally remembered that it once existed. Intelligence officers occasionally wrote private histories never intended for the general public. Secret organizations often need to preserve their own institutional memory. After an operation ends, an officer may write an internal history explaining what happened and what future personnel should learn from it. These accounts can contain details omitted from public statements because their intended readers already hold the necessary clearances. Failures may be discussed more openly. Sensitive relationships can be described with greater precision. Methods that remain operational may appear without disguise. Such histories become especially valuable decades later because they record how insiders understood an event before public controversy reshaped the story. Yet, they also have limitations. Authors can defend their own decisions or rely on incomplete information. The document is still one perspective rather than perfect truth. When an internal history is eventually released, it can transform a familiar episode by revealing arguments that once occurred behind closed doors. There may be countless similar narratives still unavailable. Somewhere in a classified archive, an officer may already have written the fullest account of a mystery the public continues debating. Internal agency journals preserved extraordinary operations years before outsiders knew they existed. Intelligence professionals sometimes published articles for one another inside restricted journals that ordinary readers could not access. These publications allowed officers to study past operations and debate lessons without exposing sensitive information publicly. A story that sounded like rumor outside the agency could therefore exist as documented professional history inside it. Decades later, declassification occasionally brought those articles into view. Readers discovered detailed accounts of tradecraft and operational failures that had once circulated only within the intelligence community. This creates two parallel histories. One develops publicly through newspapers and memoirs. The other develops behind security barriers among people who possess information outsiders lack. When the second history finally appears, it can confirm old suspicions or overturn popular assumptions. Yet internal journals do not necessarily reveal everything. Editors still consider security, and authors still protect sensitive sources. The fascinating part is knowing that secret institutions study their own hidden past just as historians study public events. Somewhere, an extraordinary operation may already have a written history that ordinary researchers are not yet permitted to read. Freedom of information requests have exposed projects once dismissed as conspiracy theories. A citizen does not need to break into an archive to uncover a hidden program. Freedom of information laws can allow people to request government records and challenge certain forms of secrecy through established legal processes. Persistent researchers have used these requests to obtain documents about surveillance activities and intelligence experiments that were once poorly understood outside government. Sometimes the released material confirms that a rumored project genuinely existed. That does not mean every dramatic claim surrounding the project was true. Still, the discovery can permanently change how earlier denials or dismissals are viewed. Requests may take years, and heavily redacted pages can arrive at the end. Researchers then submit narrower requests based on newly discovered names or code words. Piece by piece, a hidden story can emerge through bureaucracy rather than leaking. This process appeals strongly to mystery enthusiasts because it proves that official records can overturn assumptions. A theory may begin at the margins and later acquire a file number. The challenge is separating what the documents actually confirm from everything imagined around them. Other sensational document claims collapsed when investigators examined their origins more closely. Not every secret-looking document survives serious scrutiny. A paper can contain impressive stamps and official language while still being fabricated. Investigators examine where it first appeared and whether anyone can trace it back to a legitimate archive. They compare formatting with genuine records from the same period. Dates can reveal references to offices or terminology that did not yet exist. Signatures may belong to officials who were somewhere else when the document was supposedly written. Even typefaces can become evidence. Some famous papers have attracted enormous attention before small inconsistencies weakened their credibility. This does not always end the argument. Supporters can claim that unusual formatting reflects an exceptionally secret program or deliberate deception. Skeptics see the inconsistencies as signs of forgery. The most useful lesson is that appearance alone proves very little. A page can look classified without ever having been classified. In the world of secret files, determining whether a document is genuine can become more difficult than interpreting the extraordinary story written on it. The authenticity of alleged secret papers can become a mystery of its own. Suppose an anonymous envelope arrives containing documents that describe an unbelievable government operation. Before anyone can ask whether the story is true, a more basic problem appears. Where did the papers come from? Genuine classified documents usually belong to a larger administrative system. They use specific routing practices and reference numbers. They often connect to other records that can be found independently. A mysterious document with no reliable chain of custody lacks that supporting structure. Yet, forgeries can be sophisticated enough to imitate many official details. This leads researchers into an unusual investigation where paper fibers and bureaucratic language may matter as much as the claims themselves. Sometimes experts disagree because different clues point in opposite directions. A document might contain accurate information that was not publicly known when it surfaced, while also displaying suspicious formatting. That raises an even stranger possibility. Could someone have created a false document using genuine secret knowledge? Once authenticity becomes uncertain, every feature of the page can support competing interpretations. Forged, classified documents can contain convincing details copied from genuine government paperwork. A skilled forger does not need to invent everything. Publicly available records provide examples of official letterheads and classification markings. Old manuals can reveal how agencies formatted dates or numbered pages. Genuine names and real historical events can be woven into a false narrative to make it feel anchored in reality. The strongest forgery may therefore contain mostly accurate details surrounding one invented claim. That mixture is dangerous because fact-checking the easy parts produces reassuring results. The reader discovers that the official existed and the office was real. Confidence grows before the central allegation is tested. Intelligence services have long understood this principle because believable deception often works best when built around truth. Private hoaxers can use the same technique. For mystery researchers, the challenge is resisting the temptation to treat accuracy around the edges as proof of authenticity at the center. A false paper does not need to look absurd. It may look almost perfect. The decisive clue can be one tiny detail copied from the wrong year. Disinformation operations sometimes mix truthful information with deliberate falsehoods to confuse adversaries. A complete lie can be easy to reject. A story containing genuine secrets is much harder to dismiss. Intelligence services have sometimes exploited this by combining accurate details with information designed to mislead. The truthful material gives the deception credibility. The false portion then encourages the target to make a bad decision or waste resources investigating the wrong threat. This technique can also poison future historical research. Years later, a surviving document may contain statements that were intentionally crafted for an adversary rather than written as an honest internal assessment. Without understanding the document's purpose, researchers can mistake deception for evidence. The problem becomes especially difficult when both sides know disinformation is occurring. An apparently leaked secret might be genuine or deliberately planted. A denial could be sincere or another layer of manipulation. This is where top-secret history becomes almost philosophical. The existence of an official document does not guarantee the author wanted its eventual reader to believe the truth. Sometimes the file itself was part of the operation. Secret services have created fictional organizations to disguise real intelligence activities. A covert operation sometimes needs an entire public identity rather than a simple false name. Intelligence services have created companies or front organizations that appear to conduct ordinary business while supporting hidden activities behind the scenes. Employees outside the sensitive compartment may perform genuine work without knowing the deeper purpose. Offices can receive mail and maintain financial records. Telephone numbers may lead to real staff. The cover becomes convincing because much of it is real. Such organizations can help move money or provide plausible employment for officers who cannot openly identify their government connection. When a front is eventually exposed, earlier records suddenly acquire a different meaning. A routine contract can become evidence of an intelligence relationship. A company trip may have concealed an operational meeting. This creates fertile ground for speculation because not every unusual business connection is a covert front. Yet history confirms that some seemingly ordinary organizations genuinely served hidden purposes. The perfect secret institution may not resemble a spy headquarters at all. It may look like a normal office. Cover stories can survive for decades after the operations beneath them disappear. Once a believable explanation enters the public record, it can outlive the secret it was created to protect. A classified project may end and its personnel may scatter. The original cover story can remain in newspapers or official statements because nobody has yet released the records showing what really happened. Future writers then repeat the public explanation without realizing it was designed as camouflage. When declassification finally arrives, a familiar historical event can suddenly change character. What appeared to be commercial research might turn out to have supported intelligence collection. An innocent-sounding test could have concealed a military purpose. This does not mean every official explanation is false. It shows that some were intentionally constructed to be believed. The fascinating question is how many still survive because the documents correcting them remain closed. A successful cover story becomes part of history itself. People stop seeing it as a claim and begin treating it as background knowledge. The original operation disappears, but the explanation invented for it keeps living. Howard Hughes became the public cover for an extraordinary CIA ocean operation. Howard Hughes was already associated with ambitious technology and unconventional ventures. That reputation made him unusually useful when the CIA needed a believable explanation for a massive ship built for a highly classified mission. The public story said the vessel was intended to mine manganese nodules from the deep ocean floor. Hughes appeared to be exactly the sort of billionaire who might finance such an unusual industrial gamble. Behind that explanation sat a very different objective involving a lost Soviet submarine. The cover had to survive scrutiny from journalists and foreign intelligence services because the ship was too large to hide physically. Instead of concealing the vessel, planners concealed its purpose. This is a brilliant reversal of ordinary secrecy. Everyone could see the machine while almost nobody knew why it existed. The episode demonstrates why a convincing public narrative can be as important as locks and guards. Hughes did not need to personally explain every detail. His name itself made an extraordinary engineering project seem plausible enough to avoid the right questions. Project Jennifer became widely confused with another code name for Project Azorian. Secret code names can create confusion long after a project becomes public. For years, the operation to recover part of a Soviet submarine was frequently described as Project Jennifer. Later research showed that Azorian was the name associated with the broader recovery effort. Jennifer referred to a narrower compartment connected with the operation. The mistake became so widespread that books and articles repeated it until the incorrect name became almost more familiar than the real one. This is a perfect example of how classified terminology can distort history even after secrecy begins to lift. Outsiders often encounter code names without the organizational charts needed to understand how they fit together. One leaked word can therefore become attached to an entire story. The confusion also reminds us that declassification is rarely a single, clean reveal. Pieces emerge at different times from different offices. Researchers build an explanation while the puzzle is still incomplete. Even the name of a famous secret operation can remain uncertain until enough paperwork finally connects the labels. Some famous secret projects became even stranger after their genuine files appeared. Declassification does not always make a mystery less interesting. Sometimes the confirmed version is more extraordinary than the rumors that came before it. Operations involving hidden tunnels and experimental aircraft sounded implausible until official records demonstrated that they had genuinely occurred. The paperwork can reveal layers nobody outside the project had imagined. Budgets show unexpected scale. Technical reports expose remarkable engineering. Internal memoranda reveal arguments about risks that never entered the public story. This creates a peculiar effect that anyone interested in conspiracies. Real secrets establish that governments have successfully carried out operations which would once have sounded unbelievable. At the same time, genuine files provide boundaries because they show what actually happened rather than what rumor claimed. The tension between those two lessons fuels endless curiosity. If one astonishing story turned out to be real, perhaps another could as well. Yet history also warns that confirmed secrecy does not validate unrelated theories. The archive can encourage wonder while demanding discipline. Sometimes reality is strange enough without adding anything to it. CIA behavioral research explored methods for influencing people under highly controlled conditions. Cold War intelligence agencies feared that hostile governments might discover techniques capable of manipulating prisoners or extracting information in new ways. That anxiety pushed researchers toward experiments involving psychology and altered states. Some studies examined how stress or isolation affected behavior. Others explored whether drugs could change resistance or memory. The work often reflected the era's limited ethical protections and intense fear of enemy breakthroughs. Officials were not necessarily pursuing a single perfected method. They were testing many possibilities because nobody knew which ideas might prove useful. That uncertainty is part of what makes the surviving documents so unsettling. Programs can appear less like one coherent plan and more like a collection of experiments searching for an advantage. Some methods produced little practical value. Others later became subjects of serious ethical criticism. The deeper mystery is what decision-makers truly hoped could be achieved. Were they seeking reliable control over behavior, or simply trying to understand claims that rival intelligence services were already experimenting with similar techniques? MKUltra included numerous sub-projects whose connections were invisible to many participants. MKUltra was not one experiment conducted in one laboratory. It functioned as an umbrella for numerous research efforts carried out through different organizations and intermediaries. Some researchers received funding without being fully aware of the intelligence purpose behind it. This structure helped protect the CIA's involvement while allowing work to continue across universities and other institutions. The arrangement also made the program extremely difficult to understand from the outside. One study might appear isolated until financial records revealed that it belonged to a much larger network. Different sub-projects explored different questions, which is why broad claims about MKUltra can become misleading very quickly. The program's secrecy was built into its organization. People could contribute to one piece without seeing the larger agenda. When investigators later tried to reconstruct what happened, they faced an intentionally fragmented structure combined with missing records. The result is a historical puzzle whose edges are clearer than its center. We know many individual pieces existed. We cannot always see exactly how planners intended them to fit together. Surviving financial records helped reconstruct experiments after major MK Ultra files were destroyed. Money leaves traces even when operational paperwork disappears. Years after many MK Ultra documents had been destroyed, officials discovered a separate collection of financial records that had escaped the earlier destruction. These papers were less dramatic than laboratory reports. They contained budgets and administrative details connected to payments. Yet precisely because they seemed routine, they preserved information about sub-projects investigators had not previously understood. Names of institutions and funding arrangements began to restore parts of the missing structure. This discovery demonstrates how bureaucracy can accidentally defeat secrecy. Destroying the main files did not erase every accounting requirement created while the program operated. A payment authorized in one office could leave a record somewhere else. Researchers could then work backward from the money to identify activities that otherwise might have vanished completely. The surviving records did not answer every question. They made the remaining gaps more visible. Suddenly, there was evidence that additional work had existed even when the scientific details were gone. Sometimes the ledger remembers what the laboratory no longer can. Government researchers investigated whether unusual substances could affect interrogation and human behavior. During the Cold War, intelligence officials became fascinated by the possibility that chemistry might alter how people responded under questioning. Researchers examined substances capable of changing perception or reducing ordinary psychological control. The hope was partly defensive. Officials wanted to know what hostile interrogators might use against captured personnel. There was also interest in whether any compound could make a reluctant person more cooperative or easier to question. Reality proved far less predictable than the fantasy of a simple truth drug. Intoxicated people can become confused or suggestible. They can also produce inaccurate statements with complete confidence. A substance that changes inhibition does not magically create reliable information. Nevertheless, the search continued because the strategic value of a genuine breakthrough would have been enormous. This research helped create some of the most controversial intelligence files of the era. It also exposed a recurring pattern in secret science. When officials fear an adversary may discover a powerful technique, even an uncertain idea can receive serious attention and funding. Cold War fears encouraged intelligence agencies to investigate ideas considered unconventional today. The Cold War rewarded imagination because officials were terrified of overlooking an advantage the other side might discover first. Reports that Soviet researchers were studying unusual ideas could trigger American interest even when the underlying evidence was weak. Intelligence agencies had to ask a difficult question. What would be worse, funding a strange idea that failed or ignoring one that unexpectedly worked? That calculation opened doors to research that modern observers may find surprising. The atmosphere mattered enormously. Nuclear competition had already shown that apparently theoretical science could transform global power in only a few years. Nobody wanted to assume that another breakthrough was impossible simply because it sounded unconventional. This did not mean every bizarre proposal received unlimited support. Many were investigated briefly and abandoned. Yet the threshold for curiosity could become unusually low when national security was involved. Declassified files preserve that mindset. They show institutions exploring possibilities not because officials were certain they were real, but because uncertainty itself was considered a risk. Surviving financial records helped reconstruct experiments after major MK Ultra files were destroyed. When investigators returned to MK Ultra years after much of its archive had vanished, they found an unexpected trail inside ordinary accounting records. These documents did not describe every experiment in detail. Instead, they showed where money had moved and which organizations had received it. That was enough to reopen parts of the story. A payment could reveal the existence of a sub-project that no surviving scientific report mentioned. A contract could connect an institution to research nobody had previously associated with the program. In this way, paperwork created for administrative reasons became historical evidence of hidden activity. The discovery also raised an uncomfortable possibility. If routine financial files preserved forgotten pieces by accident, what disappeared completely with the records that were deliberately destroyed? Some people see that gap as proof that the most controversial work was erased. Others caution that missing files do not tell us what they contained. What remains certain is that a handful of surviving ledgers restored secrets thought lost forever. Government researchers investigated whether unusual substances could affect interrogation and human behavior. Cold War intelligence officers became interested in the possibility that chemistry might alter fear, memory, resistance, or suggestibility. Researchers tested substances that changed perception and emotional control because officials wanted to understand how captured personnel might be manipulated. There was also interest in whether questioning could be made more effective through chemical means. The dream of a reliable truth drug proved far more complicated than fiction suggested. People under the influence could become talkative without becoming accurate. Memory could grow less dependable rather than more revealing. Strong reactions could make useful questioning almost impossible. Yet the research continued because rival nations were believed to be exploring similar territory. That fear made even uncertain methods seem worth investigating. The files reveal a world where officials sometimes treated the human mind as another battlefield. What remains debated is how far the most ambitious goals ever progressed. The documents show experiments and theories. They do not show the flawless method of controlling truth that popular culture later imagined. Cold War fears encouraged intelligence agencies to investigate ideas considered unconventional today. The Cold War created a powerful incentive to explore possibilities that would normally have been dismissed as too strange. Intelligence officials feared that an adversary might gain an advantage simply because the West refused to investigate an unusual claim. That anxiety could transform fringe ideas into national security questions. Reports of Soviet interest sometimes mattered almost as much as evidence that an idea actually worked. If Moscow appeared to be studying something unfamiliar, American agencies wanted to know why. This mindset helps explain official interest in topics that seem wildly outside ordinary espionage. The logic was defensive as much as curious. A failed experiment wasted money. An ignored breakthrough could have seemed far more dangerous. Many of these programs eventually disappeared because results were weak or inconsistent. Yet the fact that they were funded at all shows how uncertainty can influence secret policy. During periods of intense rivalry, governments may investigate the improbable not because they believe it, but because they fear someone else might. Psychic research continued because some officials believed ignoring it posed a strategic risk. Remote viewing survived repeated skepticism, partly because uncertainty itself became an argument for continued investigation. Officials did not need to be convinced that psychic perception was real. They only needed to worry that another country might discover something useful first. If even a tiny effect existed, supporters argued, it could have extraordinary intelligence value. This logic kept research alive through periods when results remained inconsistent. Some sessions produced descriptions that seemed striking after the target was revealed. Others offered little more than vague impressions. Reviews repeatedly questioned whether the method could provide dependable operational intelligence. Yet closing the program carried its own uncomfortable thought. What if the phenomenon worked rarely, under conditions nobody yet understood? That possibility fascinated supporters and frustrated critics. The debate therefore became larger than individual experiments. It was about how governments should respond to uncertain phenomena with potentially enormous consequences. In that environment, a strange idea could survive not because it had been proven, but because nobody wanted to be remembered for dismissing it too soon. Remote viewing files contain descriptions that supporters still consider difficult to explain. Some remote viewing sessions became famous because participants appeared to describe details that seemed unusually close to hidden targets. A viewer might mention a large industrial structure or an unexpected geographic feature without being told where to look. Supporters point to these cases as evidence that something more than chance may have been happening. Critics respond that the strongest examples are often selected after the fact, from a much larger pool of mixed results. They also note that vague descriptions can feel more impressive once the target is known. Human beings are exceptionally good at finding matches after receiving the answer. Yet not every session is easy to dismiss emotionally. Some contain details specific enough to keep the debate alive decades later. The files are fascinating because they preserve the raw uncertainty rather than a simple conclusion. A reader can see both surprising hits and obvious misses. The mystery lies in deciding whether the best examples represent coincidence, subtle cueing, selective interpretation, or an ability nobody has explained convincingly. Critics found the same psychic program too unreliable for dependable intelligence work. The end of the official remote viewing research did not come because every strange result had been disproven. The larger problem was practical reliability. Intelligence agencies need methods that work repeatedly and can produce information decision-makers trust. A technique that occasionally seems remarkable but often produces ambiguous results is difficult to use operationally. Evaluators questioned whether remote viewers could deliver specific information without analysts already knowing enough to interpret their impressions. A description that appears meaningful only after the target is revealed has limited value during a real crisis. Critics also worried about judging standards and the possibility of unconsciously fitting statements to known facts. Supporters argued that unusual successes deserved more study. The disagreement was therefore not simply about whether anything strange had occurred. It was about whether the phenomenon could be controlled well enough to matter. That distinction is crucial. A mystery can remain scientifically intriguing while still failing as an intelligence tool. The program ended, but the argument about its most puzzling results never completely disappeared. Secret military studies investigated unidentified objects without assuming they came from another world. When military personnel report something they cannot identify, officials do not need to believe in extraterrestrials to become interested. An unknown object could represent a foreign aircraft or a surveillance platform operating where it should not be. It might also reveal a problem with sensors or air traffic awareness. This is why some secret studies treated unusual sightings primarily as security questions. The goal was to determine whether the object showed capabilities that mattered militarily. That framing is important because it separates investigation from belief. Officials could examine an extraordinary report while remaining completely uncertain about its origin. In some cases, conventional explanations eventually emerged. In others, the available evidence was too limited to support a firm conclusion. The existence of classified study can therefore mean something both more mundane and more intriguing than popular imagination suggests. Governments may investigate mysteries simply because uncertainty near sensitive areas is unacceptable. The strange object does not have to be alien to become a secret worth examining. Some UFO files remained puzzling even after investigators exhausted ordinary explanations. Most unexplained sightings become less mysterious when better information arrives. A bright planet or unusual aircraft can create an impressive report under the right conditions. Yet a small number of official cases resisted the explanations investigators considered most likely. The evidence was sometimes too incomplete to reach any conclusion. In other cases, multiple witnesses or unusual motion made the event harder to dismiss quickly. This does not prove that something extraordinary visited Earth. An unresolved case simply means the available facts were not enough to identify the cause confidently. Still, that uncertainty is exactly what keeps certain files alive in public imagination. If trained investigators examined a report and still left it open, readers naturally wonder what they encountered. Skeptics see gaps in evidence. Believers see gaps in conventional explanation. Both can look at the same file and reach very different conclusions. The enduring mystery lies in the small residue that remains after easy answers are removed. Sometimes not knowing becomes the most important detail in the entire report. Radar reports became especially sensitive when unexplained objects appeared near military installations. A strange light seen by one person can be dismissed as a mistaken observation. A radar return near a restricted military site creates a different kind of concern. Radar appears objective, but it is not infallible. Weather conditions and equipment limitations can generate confusing signals. Even so, an unknown track moving through protected airspace demands attention because the consequences of ignoring a genuine intruder could be serious. During the Cold War, this concern was magnified by fears of reconnaissance and surprise attack. Reports involving both visual witnesses and radar data became particularly interesting because two different systems appeared to be observing the same event. Investigators then had to determine whether the evidence truly matched. Timing errors or misinterpretation could create a false connection. Yet some cases remain difficult to resolve completely. These files sit at an uncomfortable intersection between technology and testimony. When machines and people appear to agree that something unusual was present, the mystery becomes much harder to dismiss casually. Nuclear facilities repeatedly became settings for disputed reports preserved in official records. Unusual sightings around nuclear locations have attracted attention for decades because the setting immediately raises the stakes. Military personnel and civilian witnesses have reported unexplained lights or objects near sites connected with nuclear weapons or energy. Some incidents entered official documentation because anything unknown near a sensitive facility demanded investigation. The reports vary widely in quality. Some are based on memories recorded long after the event. Others involve contemporary logs or statements from people with official responsibilities. Believers argue that the repeated connection with nuclear sites suggests deliberate interest from an unknown intelligence. Skeptics counter that these locations receive intense observation, so unusual events are more likely to be noticed and recorded there. Security exercises and restricted aircraft can also complicate interpretation. No single explanation fits every case. What makes the subject so compelling is the pattern itself. When strange reports repeatedly appear around some of the most protected technology on Earth, even ordinary explanations can leave people wondering why the same settings appear again and again. Pilots sometimes reported strange objects while testing aircraft the public could not know existed. Test pilots have occasionally operated in skies filled with secrets on both sides of the cockpit glass. They may have been flying one classified aircraft while observing another program they were not cleared to know about. This creates a remarkable possibility. A trained military witness can give an accurate account of something genuinely unusual and still have no idea what it was. Compartmentation makes that possible because pilots are not automatically briefed on every project sharing nearby airspace. During periods of rapid technological development, silhouettes and performance characteristics could look completely unfamiliar even to experienced aviators. Some reports may therefore reflect encounters between separate secret programs, rather than anything inexplicable. Yet this explanation cannot simply be applied to every unusual sighting. It works only when a plausible project existed in the right place and time. The larger point is more intriguing. Expertise does not guarantee complete knowledge inside a classified environment. A highly trained observer can sometimes become an outsider the moment another compartment enters the sky. Classified technology can make truthful eyewitness testimony sound impossible for decades. An eyewitness can describe exactly what they saw and still be treated as unreliable because the technology is not publicly known yet. This has happened whenever secret projects moved ahead of civilian expectations. Imagine describing a strange angular aircraft years before stealth designs appeared openly. Without photographs or official confirmation, the account could sound exaggerated. Once the technology becomes public, the same testimony can suddenly seem far more plausible. This creates a time delay between experience and credibility. Secret development programs effectively control when the wider world gains the context needed to understand unusual observations. That does not mean every extraordinary witness was secretly seeing advanced machinery. It means some apparently impossible descriptions may become ordinary only after history catches up. The pattern encourages speculation because nobody can know which current reports might eventually receive a technological explanation. It also offers a warning. Human memory changes over time, and later discoveries can reshape earlier recollections. The truth may have been strange from the beginning, but proving that can take decades. Stealth aircraft were flying secretly years before most civilians knew they existed. Long before stealth aircraft became symbols of modern air power, prototypes were already taking shape behind strict security. Their unusual forms were designed to reduce radar detection rather than look familiar to the public. Flat surfaces and strange angles could make them appear unlike conventional aircraft when glimpsed from a distance. Testing often occurred at night over remote ranges to reduce the chance of observation. Workers connected with the programs faced tight restrictions on what they could discuss. This secrecy allowed revolutionary designs to mature before adversaries understood what had been achieved. It also created perfect conditions for rumor. A witness near a test range might see something real, but have no vocabulary for identifying it. Years later, photographs of newly acknowledged aircraft offered possible explanations for older reports. The deeper mystery concerns what similar development cycle might be happening now. If past technologies flew for years before public disclosure, then some current sightings may involve machines whose names and purposes remain known only inside highly restricted programs. The first public glimpse of hidden technology can rewrite earlier, unexplained sightings. When a classified aircraft is finally revealed, people often look backward. Old reports that once seemed bizarre can suddenly acquire a plausible explanation. Dates are compared with known test flights. Witness descriptions are matched against the newly visible shape. Sometimes the fit is convincing enough to resolve a long-standing mystery. In other cases, the timeline does not work, or the reported behavior exceeds what the aircraft could actually do. That distinction matters because new technology can become an overly convenient answer for anything unusual. A secret program may explain some sightings without explaining others. Declassification therefore acts almost like a historical filter. It removes one layer of uncertainty and reveals which cases still resist the available evidence. This process can be surprisingly dramatic. A story once associated with extraterrestrial craft may turn into aviation history overnight. Yet if the explanation fails, the remaining mystery can seem stronger than before. Every public unveiling of hidden technology changes the map of what was possible in earlier years. Secret reconnaissance missions crossed hostile territory, while governments publicly denied their purpose. During the Cold War, intelligence aircraft flew missions whose very existence could create an international crisis. These flights gathered photographs and electronic information from areas opposing governments considered highly sensitive. Publicly acknowledging them would have meant admitting deliberate intrusion into restricted airspace. As a result, cover stories sometimes appeared when aircraft disappeared or crews were captured. Officials might describe a mission as weather research or suggest that a flight had accidentally strayed from its route. Behind those statements sat intelligence objectives that could not safely be discussed. The risk was enormous, because a single downed aircraft could reveal equipment and expose the operation to the world. Yet leaders continued authorizing missions because the information was considered vital. These flights remind us that some official denials were not merely cautious wording. They were part of active efforts to protect ongoing intelligence collection. When the truth later emerged, it demonstrated how international events can unfold publicly around a completely different story from the one contained inside secret briefings. The U-2 incident forced a hidden American surveillance program into world headlines. In May of 1960, a U-2 reconnaissance aircraft piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. American officials initially believed the pilot had not survived and offered a cover story describing a weather research aircraft that had gone missing. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev then revealed that Powers was alive and that wreckage had been recovered. The public explanation collapsed almost immediately. Suddenly, a highly secret surveillance program became an international scandal. The incident damaged an important summit and exposed the risks of flying reconnaissance missions over hostile territory. It also demonstrated the danger of constructing a cover story before knowing what evidence an opponent possesses. The Soviets deliberately withheld key information long enough to let the American denial become public. Then they revealed the captured pilot. The event turned secrecy itself into a diplomatic weapon. A program built around hidden observation was exposed because the people being watched understood exactly when to reveal what they knew. Captured spy equipment sometimes revealed capabilities governments had carefully denied possessing. A failed intelligence operation can deliver more than embarrassment. It can hand an adversary physical proof of what was previously only suspected. Recovered cameras or electronic devices may reveal how far a rival's technology has advanced. Engineers can examine components and determine exactly what information the equipment was designed to collect. This can expose capabilities officials spent years hiding behind public denials or vague statements. Captured hardware may also reveal manufacturing clues that point toward a specific agency or country. Once the device exists in another government's hands, maintaining the old cover story becomes much harder. The equipment itself becomes evidence. During the Cold War, both sides understood this risk and sometimes designed sensitive systems with destruction mechanisms intended to prevent recovery. Those protections did not always work. The mystery then shifts from the failed mission to what the opposing side learned from the wreckage. A single captured device could force an entire intelligence program to change because the enemy now understood how it had been watched. Intelligence agencies secretly examined abandoned enemy technology for clues to future weapons. A battlefield or deserted military site can become an intelligence laboratory once the original operators leave. Abandoned equipment may contain clues about technologies that were never publicly demonstrated. Engineers can study guidance systems or manufacturing techniques to estimate what an adversary might build next. Even unfinished prototypes can be valuable because they reveal research directions. During periods of rapid military competition, this kind of technical exploitation could save years of guesswork. Analysts were not only interested in what the equipment could already do, they wanted to understand the thinking behind it. A strange component might indicate an experiment that failed. It might also represent the first step toward a capability not yet deployed. The secrecy around these recoveries protects both the source of the equipment and the conclusions drawn from it. If an adversary learns which weaknesses have been discovered, those weaknesses can be corrected. The abandoned machine therefore becomes a kind of classified prediction. By examining yesterday's hardware, intelligence officers try to glimpse tomorrow's threat. Cold War submarines carried missions whose complete histories remain difficult to reconstruct. Submarines were ideal platforms for secret work because their greatest advantage was invisibility. They could approach sensitive waters without attracting attention and remain submerged for long periods. Some missions involved surveillance or special equipment rather than ordinary patrols. Crews might be given only the information necessary for their particular role. Logs could be classified separately from broader naval records. Even decades later, the full purpose of certain voyages may remain unclear because operational details were never released. This creates an unusual historical problem. A submarine can disappear beneath the ocean, carrying hundreds of decisions that leave almost no public trace. When veterans later describe strange assignments, their accounts may be difficult to verify against surviving documents. Some stories are eventually confirmed through declassification. Others remain suspended between memory and secrecy. The ocean itself adds another layer because physical evidence can be almost impossible to recover. A mission conducted deep underwater may leave behind only a few pages of paperwork and the testimony of people sworn to silence. Undersea cables became intelligence targets because enormous secrets traveled through them unseen. Military commands depend on communication, and during the Cold War, some of the most valuable messages traveled through cables resting on the ocean floor. These lines could carry conversations and operational instructions between important bases. Because they were physically protected by deep water, users sometimes considered them more secure than radio transmissions that could be intercepted from a distance. That confidence created an opportunity. If intelligence services could reach the cable without damaging it, they might listen without alerting the people using it. The challenge was extraordinary. Divers and submarines had to locate the right line in darkness and work with extreme precision. Any obvious disturbance could expose the operation. The potential reward was equally enormous because the cable might deliver information straight from inside a rival command network. This transformed a simple strand of communication infrastructure into a secret battlefield. The messages were hidden from ordinary listeners, yet the ocean did not make them unreachable. It only made the people listening much harder to find. Operation Ivy Bells secretly tapped Soviet underwater communications during the Cold War. American submarines carried out one of the boldest undersea intelligence operations of the era by entering sensitive Soviet waters and locating communication cables on the seabed. Divers installed sophisticated tapping devices designed to collect information without cutting the lines. The operation required extraordinary navigation because the submarine had to approach a heavily monitored area without being discovered. Once installed, the equipment could record communications for later retrieval. These messages reportedly provided valuable insight into Soviet naval activity. The operation continued until its secrecy was compromised by an American who passed information to the Soviet Union. Soviet forces eventually recovered tapping equipment from the seabed. What had been one of the most hidden intelligence successes suddenly became known to the very country being monitored. The story demonstrates how physical daring and human betrayal can collide inside one operation. Engineers had solved the seemingly impossible problem of listening beneath the ocean. The greater vulnerability turned out to be someone on land who already knew where the secret was. Special submarines carried equipment designed for missions hidden from ordinary naval operations. Not every submarine mission fits the familiar picture of patrols and torpedoes. Certain vessels were modified for highly specialized intelligence work that required unusual equipment and carefully selected crews. These submarines could support divers or operate close to underwater infrastructure. Their modifications sometimes made little sense to anyone unaware of the real mission. Compartments might hold machinery intended for tasks unrelated to ordinary combat. Even other naval personnel could remain outside the need to know. This separation protected missions whose exposure could create diplomatic crises. It also meant that a ship's official description might tell only part of the story. Specialized vessels demonstrate how military platforms can carry hidden identities. Publicly, a submarine belongs to a known class with an understood purpose. Operationally, a particular boat may have capabilities nobody outside a restricted community is allowed to discuss. The ocean provides the perfect environment for such work because unusual modifications can disappear from view the moment the submarine leaves port. Secret ocean surveillance networks listened for submarines across immense stretches of water. During the Cold War, underwater listening systems became a crucial way to detect submarines moving through distant seas. Networks of hydrophones could pick up sound patterns traveling through the ocean over surprising distances. Analysts learned to distinguish mechanical signatures associated with different vessel types. A submarine attempting to remain invisible could therefore reveal itself through tiny acoustic clues produced by machinery. The full capabilities of these systems were highly sensitive because an adversary who understood the network could alter routes or equipment to avoid detection. Much of the infrastructure was hidden far from public attention. Data could flow into shore stations where specialists compared signals against known patterns. The concept sounds almost supernatural. Vast areas of dark ocean could be monitored without anyone physically seeing the submarine being tracked. Yet the technology depended on careful analysis rather than magic. Every propeller and pump contributed its own acoustic fingerprint. The sea looked empty on the surface while an unseen intelligence network listened continuously beneath it. Some intelligence installations appeared ordinary because secrecy depended on attracting no attention. The most secure intelligence site does not always look like a fortress. In some cases, a building can operate more effectively if nobody finds it interesting enough to examine closely. Offices connected with sensitive work may therefore occupy completely ordinary surroundings. The exterior can resemble any other government facility or commercial property. Vehicles arrive and leave without obvious signs of unusual activity. Inside, however, protected rooms or specialized communications equipment may support work far more sensitive than the building suggests. This style of secrecy relies on anonymity rather than dramatic defenses. A heavily guarded compound advertises that something important is inside. A bland structure can disappear into the background. For people fascinated by hidden government, this creates endless possibilities and endless opportunities for mistaken suspicion. An ordinary building might conceal classified activity. It might also simply be an ordinary building. The difficulty is that successful concealment looks exactly like nothing at all. Sometimes the absence of mystery on the outside is what makes the location useful. Embassies sometimes concealed sophisticated listening equipment behind completely conventional diplomatic surroundings. Embassies provide unusual opportunities for intelligence collection because they place government personnel inside foreign capitals under legal diplomatic protection. Behind formal reception rooms and administrative offices, technical specialists can operate equipment designed to gather information from nearby communications. Antennas may be incorporated into structures that look architecturally ordinary. Secure rooms can host analysis systems without revealing anything unusual to visitors. Host governments understand this possibility, which turns diplomatic buildings into objects of intense counterintelligence attention. Every renovation or new piece of electronic equipment can invite suspicion. The result is a strange dual identity. An embassy is publicly a place for diplomacy, while privately serving as a valuable intelligence platform. This does not make every diplomat a spy, or every antenna suspicious. it does mean that official buildings can support far more than their visible purpose suggests. The same structure hosting negotiations in daylight may be collecting signals at other times. International diplomacy and secret surveillance can therefore occupy the same address without ever being publicly acknowledged. Diplomatic buildings became targets in a quiet international battle over hidden surveillance devices. If embassies can collect intelligence, they can also become targets themselves. Host governments have tried to place listening devices inside diplomatic buildings without alerting the people working there. Construction materials and furniture can provide opportunities for concealment. Renovation projects become especially sensitive because outside workers may gain temporary access to walls or infrastructure that diplomats cannot constantly inspect. In response, embassies use technical security teams to search for hidden devices and unusual signals. The contest can continue for years without becoming public. One side creates a new method of surveillance. The other develops a way to detect it. Then, the cycle begins again. The most successful devices may operate for long periods before anyone realizes they exist. When one is discovered, investigators must ask how many conversations it captured and whether similar devices remain hidden elsewhere. A building designed to represent trust between nations can therefore become one of the most carefully watched locations in the entire city. The Moscow embassy typewriter bugs operated without ordinary batteries or obvious transmitters. One of the cleverest espionage discoveries involved modified typewriters used inside the American embassy in Moscow. Hidden components were built into the machines in ways that allowed information about typed text to be collected electronically. The devices were difficult to detect because they did not resemble ordinary radio bugs and did not rely on obvious power sources in the expected way. Their design exploited the movement of the typewriter itself. This meant sensitive documents could potentially be compromised at the moment they were created. The discovery forced investigators to rethink assumptions about what a surveillance device should look like. A machine considered safe because it contained no normal transmitter could still be revealing information. The episode became a powerful lesson in technical espionage. The object being monitored was also part of the spying mechanism. Nothing needed to be hidden under the desk or attached to the wall. The threat was built directly into equipment, trusted for secure government work. Declassified archives still grow as once forbidden documents quietly cross into public history. The world of top-secret files is not fixed. Every year, records that once required high-security clearances become available to ordinary researchers. Some are released because their classified period expires. Others emerge after formal review or legal requests. The transition can be almost anticlimactic. A document that once sat behind guarded doors may eventually appear in a reading room or digital archive where anyone can examine it. Yet the historical impact can be enormous. A single newly released memo can confirm a disputed operation or provide context missing from earlier accounts. Old assumptions can change because one more piece of evidence enters public view. This process means the history of intelligence is constantly being rewritten at the edges. Today's accepted story may be incomplete simply because tomorrow's file has not yet opened. The archive is therefore not only a record of the past. It is a slow release mechanism through which hidden history continues arriving decades after the events themselves ended. Every newly opened file can reveal connections that earlier researchers could never see. Historical mysteries often survive because the important documents are scattered across separate archives. One release can suddenly connect people or events that previously seemed unrelated. A name buried in an operational memo might match a person mentioned years earlier in another collection. A code word can reveal that two apparently separate projects belong to the same larger effort. This is why researchers return repeatedly to old subjects when new files appear. The facts already known may not change, but their relationships can. Intelligence history is especially vulnerable to this because compartmentation deliberately broke information apart while operations were active. Declassification reverses that process slowly. Pieces that were once separated for security begin moving back into the same public picture. Sometimes the connection confirms what historians suspected. At other times, it overturns a theory that seemed convincing for decades. The most exciting discoveries can come from comparison rather than revelation. Two ordinary documents become extraordinary when someone finally realizes they're describing different sides of the same secret. The greatest top-secret mysteries may belong to files nobody knows exist. Public debates about secrecy naturally focus on documents whose names have already surfaced. Yet the most protected programs may leave no recognizable trail outside the institutions running them. If a project is deeply compartmented, people without access may not know what words to search for or which agency holds the records. This creates the ultimate archival problem. You cannot request a file you do not know exists. Rumors sometimes fill that gap, but rumor alone cannot distinguish a genuine hidden program from an invented one. History offers reasons for caution in both directions. Extraordinary secret operations have eventually been confirmed. Many dramatic claims have also collapsed when evidence was examined. The unknown, therefore, remains genuinely unknown. Somewhere inside government archives may be files that would transform our understanding of familiar events. There may also be nothing remotely as sensational as people imagine. The fascination comes from the structure of secrecy itself. The best hidden document leaves no blacked-out page behind. It leaves no public clue that anyone should be looking. Tonight, we have wandered through a hidden world shaped by secrecy. We have looked at classified programs, disputed documents, missing records, hidden technology, and operations that remained unknown for years. Some mysteries eventually found an explanation. Others became even stranger once the files were opened. And a few still sit behind blacked-out pages, sealed archives, or questions that nobody has fully answered. What makes these stories so fascinating is not only what was hidden. It is how long some secrets stayed hidden, even while history moved on around them. A strange light in the sky could turn out to be an aircraft nobody was allowed to discuss. An ordinary memo could reveal an operation that once sounded impossible. A missing page could leave one final question hanging for decades. And perhaps that is the perfect place to leave these mysteries for tonight. There is nothing more you need to solve. The locked rooms can stay locked. The sealed files can remain unopened until another time. Let the unanswered questions settle into the background now. Allow your shoulders to soften. Let your breathing find its own slower rhythm. Feel the weight of the day beginning to loosen as everything around you becomes still. If you enjoyed this journey, you are always welcome to like, subscribe, or leave a thought below. And if you happen to still be awake, another mystery is waiting for you on the screen. For now, let the documents close. Let the lights dim. And let the last unanswered questions drift away as you settle into rest. Sleep well, and good night.